I'm Linda.
And I'm Troy, and we are Wine, Spines, and Canines. After 3 long months of urban living, we are back on the road and headed to Don Carter State Park in the state of Georgia.
Yes, so this is the state park that we were talking about, that we are going to test out our solar and batteries on this GeoPro, and we are going to look to answer the question, with a dealer installed 12-volt battery, is this GeoPro actually boondocking capable? Now, we've been camping for going into our 5th year, right. But one thing that we did not do a lot of is anything that was off the grid. We've pretty much been hooked up in an RV campground, and honestly, we're getting a little bored of it, and we're looking for a change.
Now, if you've watched enough YouTube videos like we have, you can obviously buy enough solar and enough lithium-ion batteries to overcome almost any obstacle. What we want to do is look at the cost-benefit in practical terms for all of us. As far as, solar, you want to look at propane, you want to look at gray and black tank holding capacity, you want to look at all the different components that go into your camper and how long and how much money you have to spend to make them work. So follow along with us this year. We're going to have a lot of fun looking at each one of them and determining which one's the most important for the money.
And today's video is the first step in this process. We're going to evaluate the battery that came with this camper. We recently took a trip to the North Georgia mountains, and we put this battery through its paces. So if you'd like to follow along with us this camping year, please
like and subscribe.
And remember, Desi, who is poised, wants you to hit that notification bell.
2 years ago, Linda and I brought this camper, and we've had a lot of fun with it. The dealer provided us with one 12-volt flooded lead-acid battery, a very common type battery. It comes with 65 amp hours of capacity. Flooded lead-acid batteries have a restraint. You can't run them down without damage less than 50% of their total capacity, leaving us with 32 amp hours. 32 amp hours is not a lot to deal with, and is 32 amp hours enough to truly use boondocking?
So this battery, again, is kind of I met my obligation as a dealer, and I put a battery in the camper. So obviously, this is kind of a lower end battery, and you can get much better setups, and we think that's where we're eventually going to end up, but we wanted to go ahead and do this experiment just to see how it worked out. Now, Troy and I are not solar and battery experts. This is our first camper with solar, so we're kind of learning as we go, and we hope that our experience and some of the tests that we're doing help you make some decisions as well. So the first thing we did was look at what items inside the camper we would use while boondocking and do some research and figure out how many amp that they draw. Okay, so first for us is our 2-way fridge. It runs on gas or electric. So in this case, we'd be running on gas, but it does still draw a little bit. Second is our water pump. Third is the gas water heater. Fourth is the TV and radio. 5 are these USB chargers behind the TV. 6 is the bathroom vent fan. 7 are all of the LED overhead lights. And 8 is our propane heater. We needed to come up with a series of tests that we wanted to do on our first trip out. So we came up with 4. First was overnight. Second was on a nice sunny day with a normal amount of items running, and we wanted to see if we could go 24 hours. Third was on a rainy and overcast day, how long would the battery last? And fourth was another nice sunny day, but with as much as possible running inside the camper to see if the battery would hold up. Now, because it is a battery, the AC and microwave were not running because they will not operate on the battery. And we also did not use the inverter because we know that it will draw down the battery fairly quickly. That's going to be something we're going to look at in the future. Let's go ahead. We're going to do some time travel. We're going to go back in time a couple of weeks, and we're going to see how this battery did under those 4 tests. We are here at Don Carter State Park. It is about 7 o'clock at night. It has been a long day. So we are all set up for the evening. We're going to relax, have something to eat, but wanted to give you a quick update on what we plan on doing for the testing of the battery next. So right now we are hooked up to campsite electric. We want to make sure everything is working correctly, as we have not had this camper out for about 3 months. But the plan is when we go to bed, we're shutting everything down. We want to see what kind of draw happens overnight. We're going to go ahead, get something to eat, and then we will see you tomorrow, and we'll let you know what we find. Okay, we are right outside of a rest area in Anderson, South Carolina, and I am about to make dinner. This is a 140 watt inverter that we've had for a while, and I have made some sloppy Joe mix last night, put it in the cooler, and I am now putting this in this Hot Logic Mini, which is a little food warmer, food cooker that I have been using for about 3 years. There is nothing better than arriving at your destination and already having your meal done.
It is a sunny but crisp morning here. We're going to be taking off and heading over to Tallulah Falls. Haven't been there. We kind of look forward to it. We're going to do some hiking there. We're going to go see some waterfalls perhaps and wrap up the day at one of our favorite things, one of the country wineries not located too far from where we're staying. Linda, how'd that battery do overnight?
Well, when we went to bed, it was down to about 81%. So overnight, it dropped to 75%. So we lost 6% of the battery overnight, which 65 amp hours, 6% is about 4 amp hours, which all makes sense.
Yeah, and we had so little faith in the battery that, in fact, we didn't run the heater last night. It made it cozy.
Yes.
But based on the information given, we knew that battery wouldn't hold out.
Yes, and so it was 49 degrees when we got up this morning. We did turn the heat on, and it dropped down to around 64% within 20 minutes or so. So yeah, I think we were right in the fact that it never would have lasted and not fallen below 50% at some point. So we are hooked back up to electric and to get it back up charged, and then we've taken it off.
Yeah, so the deal is today we're going to be out knocking around, and while we're gone, we're going to leave the battery on, we're going to let the solar fill the battery, and we're going to let it do its thing. I feel pretty confident with as much sunlight as we're going to get today that it's really going to top off the batteries, and hopefully it'll carry right on through for the next 24 hours.
Exactly, and that's our next test. So we will see you guys later today. Well, this day and our solar test is done. We got home around 3. It was at 100%. We ran a few lights and the bathroom vent fan. It dropped down a little bit more. We went out for dinner, came back, and then tonight I've been running some lights, charging a few things with the USB port, and running the TV, and it's down to 68%. So I think it'll last us the evening with no problem, and we're probably going to let it run overnight, not hook back up to electric, see where we get. So at the moment, battery is holding up, and we'll see where it goes from there. Our second night there was a warm night, and to avoid running the vent fan, we used our DeWalt fan on low. It has a 4 amp battery, and at the end of 24 hours when we shut it off, it still had 2 bars on that battery. So a great way to save on your battery usage inside the camper.
All right, now this morning at 6:30 I got up. Knocking around the camper, I came to the realization that our battery was down to 53%. I immediately transitioned over to shore power at that point. Noon today, what I'm going to do, it's raining pretty good and it's really overcast. We're going to switch back over to battery and see how long it holds up with very low solar opportunity.
And we are back to the future. So Troy, how'd those first 2 battery tests go?
Well, the first one came off without a hitch. Honestly, you're not pulling much juice off the battery. So yes, the battery did drop a little bit overnight, but as long as you got sun the next day, you are good to go. On test number 2, we just operated as normal, but as long as there was plenty of sun coming in, the battery stayed topped off, and so it really didn't see any issues till about 3 or 4 o'clock. 3 or 4 o'clock, the sun got behind the trees a little bit, and that battery began to fall off real fast.
Yeah, so from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it was about 100% till about 7 a.m. the next morning, 53%. So we lost basically the capacity of the battery in that time frame. And we weren't being super conservative with our power usage, but we also weren't going out of our way to use things like the heater or the water pump much, which are two of the bigger draws. So I do think when we go out on our next trip, when we use that side solar panel, this is the situation where it's going to come in handy to be able to pull down some additional solar into that battery and hopefully keep it charged up past 3 o'clock.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, so we're on to test number 3.
Yeah, test number 3 ought to be a real challenge because we had a lot of rain. We didn't get any solar input at all, or if we did, it was
minimal.
Less 0.03 or something. Yeah. It was less than an amp hour per, I mean, it was just almost nothing. So let's see how that went. All right, so we just finished up running the battery for about 6 hours. We started out running just 3 LED light fixtures. I think we ran the TV for about an hour. We had a couple iPads, a couple iPhones running. And basically, it kind of struggled. Without any real sunlight today, it ran down to about 53%. We pulled the plug about an hour ago. We went back over to shore power. All right, so test number 3 was an absolute bust. It was down to 73% only after 2 hours.
In fact, this day was a fairly warm day with the rain, so we weren't running the heat. We were running the DeWalt fan to see how long it would last, so we didn't have to run the bathroom vent fan for air. And we were sanitizing our tanks, so we weren't even running the water pump. And I think that thing conked out somewhere around 6 o'clock. we went ahead and switched over. So.
Yeah, it was out of gas. So I think it's fair to say that this thing truly struggles on overcast, rainy days.
Yes. So now we're going to head into test number 4, which was doing a lot more items running on a very sunny day. And this was a cool morning, so we took advantage of that and headed up to Unicoi State Park to hike at Anaruby Falls. And we got back from that around 2 o'clock, and let's see how the battery did. We're back. We've been gone about 5 hours. We did have the heat set to 50. It's currently 68 in here, so not sure how long it did run, but the TV was also on and all the lights, and the battery is at 90%. So it looks like the solar is pretty much keeping up with the load that we were putting on it. So we will see how the rest of the afternoon goes.
All right, so how did it do? Well, it did pretty good during the day. When the sun was high, the solar was enough to keep the battery charged for what we were doing. But by 3 and 4 o'clock, it began to fade fast along with the light of the day. By 7 p.m., we were down to 62%. So it was time to make a change.
Yes, and it was the coldest day that we were there. So by 7 o'clock, it was in the 40s, and again, we turned, that heat on, and it dropped into the 50s, and we just pulled the plug and switched over to electric, so we didn't have to worry about it. But I think this is another case in where that side solar panel would come in handy, so we're excited to do this whole trip kind of all over again with the same test with that side solar panel. So what are our thoughts on this battery? So here is our conclusion. If you have a battery similar to ours, 65 amp hours, and you have really nice sunny weather and longer days, and you aren't going to need the heat, then yeah, you should be okay. I would feel comfortable taking this camper out with this battery under those conditions.
Right.
But you really have to watch that battery usage.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is if you have an overcast day or the weather begins to get really hot or really cold, or you just for whatever reason lose solar, you're going to find yourself in a jam pretty quickly with the provided battery.
Yes.
So that brings us to the eternal question. Delinda, do you think this battery makes this camper truly boondock capable?
Yeah, I mean, truly in boondocking, because no conditions are ideal. So, if you're going out for 2 days, Yes, if you're going out for a number of days and you don't know what the weather is going to be, I would be very reluctant to go out with this battery without having some kind of backup, like we did at an electric site, or bring along a generator. And we do recommend the first time you take your camper out, until you're comfortable with it, have that backup with you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to bring everything that we've done before, but we're going to bring what we recently purchased, our suitcase solar panel that we're going to hook up to the side. We're going to see if being able to move this additional solar panel around to kind of follow the sun improves what we do, and again, gives this battery a chance to survive being replaced. My money's on no.
Yes, and we're also, where we're going to be heading is no hookups. So
that's true.
Yes, so we are going to be looking at that freshwater tank,
right,
and our black and gray tank. So if you'd like to see how that experiment goes, make sure you
like and subscribe.
Thanks, guys, and have a great week.